Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavad-gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder Acharya Visco. Chapter 10, text number 11. Teshamevanukampartam maham jnanajam tamaha nashyam yatma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. In the Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna speaks much about controlling the mind and senses, not being attached, discriminating between matter and spirit. Here, Krishna gives a somewhat different angle to the whole discussion. The whole discussion of Bhagavad-gita is Krishna advising Arjuna how to come out of the darkness of ignorance by the previously mentioned processes. But here, Krishna gives a different approach altogether. That better than your own efforts to control the mind and senses, if you get my mercy, then I remove your ignorance, Krishna says. In the 6th chapter of Gita, Krishna described in detail the yoga system by which the yogi withdraws his consciousness from material affairs. But at the end of that chapter, Krishna says that the best yogi is he who is always thinking of me. Why is that? Isn't it better just to remove your consciousness from matter? Krishna gives the clue here, that Krishna personally removes the ignorance from the heart of someone who is devoted to him. Krishna becomes personally involved. It's very difficult for us to clean the dirt from our hearts. The dirt in our hearts means lust, greed, anger, attachment, desires for sense gratification, varieties of contaminations. So it's very difficult for us to clean these away because these are all lodged there by Maya. And Maya is very difficult to overcome. That even Krishna himself admits. What does Krishna say about this in the Gita? Does anyone know? Devi hi isha gunamayi.
Mama Duratya.
Maya Duratya.
Mameva Yaprapadyate.
Give the translation. Actually, I'll give it in 2 parts. Krishna says that this Maya, this divine energy of mind, Krishna says, is very difficult to overcome. But Krishna says, if you surrender to me, you can easily cross me over. So throughout the Gita, Krishna is giving this message. You have to cross over this line. For your own self-interest, you have to get free from material attachment. But how are you going to do it? Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Krishna is a great fighter. Krishna calls him in Gita, Mahabahu, oh you with great arms. Parantapa, conqueror of the enemy. But he's not strong enough to conquer over Maya by himself. He can't even conquer his enemies by himself. It was seen after the departure of Krishna that Arjuna, his strength to conquer the enemies was lost. So all energy comes from Krishna. This material energy is much stronger than our energy to overcome it. So if we are at all to cross over this material energy, we have to take on. And then it becomes easy to cross over Maya. Otherwise it's very, very difficult. How is it that Krishna helps us? Why should he want to help us? We've been rejecting Krishna for so many lifetimes. We're so insignificant compared to him. What is the benefit for Krishna? That is simply Krishna's kindness. That he tries to, Krishna helps his endeavoring devotee. Here the word is used, anukampa. This is a word which means compassion, mercy. There are different words in the Sanskrit language for mercy. Kripa, daya, prasad, that's another word. Maya is also another word. Is one word. Anukampa means mercy. So that's Krishna's mercy. Krishna is offering, I'll be merciful to you. To who? As Krishna states in the previous verse. Isham satata yuktanam bhajitam priti purvikam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamopiyam. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, Krishna says, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Or as Prabhupada used to say, if you make one step towards Krishna, Krishna will make 100 steps towards you. Priti purvakam. To those who are serving Krishna with love, Krishna responds to the loving attempt of his devotee. But then how does he extend his mercy? Krishna says, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. In other words, Krishna gives the strength and the intelligence required to help the devotee cross over Maya. It's not simply that Krishna waves a magic wand and all of a sudden Maya goes away. Still, we have to make our endeavors to cross over Maya and come to Krishna. But Krishna helps us. Krishna is ever willing to help us. He also wants to see that we are sincere to make our endeavors to serve Him. At the same time, His help is absolutely essential. And the extension of His help to us is simply His wonderful mercy. So this is the special quality of the personality of God. Generally, when people think of God, they think of the supreme power. And they think of God, He's so powerful, He creates this world. But they don't know how powerful He is. He's not simply the creator of some tiny little world, but millions of universes come from His body as He breathes in and breathes out. Yakaranana vajale vajati svayoga nidramananta. Amanda suro makupa Adhara Shaktina Valamya Suroma Govindamadi Purusha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not even His original form, but Mahavishnu, who is an expansion of Sankarsana, who is an expansion of Balaram, who is an expansion of Krishna. Krishna's expanded form, from Him, millions of universes. And even this material world, it's only a tiny part of in comparison to the spiritual world, it's only a tiny part of the total existence. So how great God is, people have no idea how great is Krishna. But even His creation of millions of universes, that is not His greatest glory. He has unlimited qualities and opulences, and all of them are auspicious for all living beings. Ananta Kalyana Guna Vishishta. He is decorated with unlimited, transcendental, auspicious qualities. He is all beautiful. No one can imagine how beautiful He is. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha. His beauty is such that He attracts millions of cupids. Cupid is he who, by his shooting his flower arrows, he expands the material, attractive beauty principle, by which every living being in this world is deluded. But Krishna defeats Cupid by his own beauty. Krishna overwhelms any beauty that Cupid can produce. Cupid, that word must be derived from Latin, but the original is Sanskrit. Kamadev, he who increases lust. So Krishna is all beautiful, He is all powerful, He is all opulent, He owns everything. There's no end to the qualities of Krishna. Even Lord Brahma, who is the most intelligent and knowledgeable person in the universe, he concluded that even if you could count all the atoms in the universe, you could not estimate the qualities of Krishna, because there are many, many more. But among all His qualities, what is the most important? His most important quality is His extension of mercy to His devotees. This is the most amazing thing about Krishna. It's not so amazing that He can create and destroy millions of universes. To us, that is amazing. It's not amazing that He knows everything past, present, and future from every angle of vision. It's not so amazing that He's in the heart of every living being and that He's controlling the wanderings of all living beings. These are certainly amazing, inconceivable qualities, but they do not compare to His quality of mercy. This is the most attractive quality of Krishna. Krishna is all attractive. His most attractive quality is His quality of mercy. We know from Bhagavatam that Shukdev Goswami, he was within the womb of his mother. But even within his womb, he was a self-realized soul. So he didn't want to come out of the womb. He thought, well, in this womb is all blood and mucus and so many horrible things. But at least I can't get in Maya here. At least if I stay here, I can just meditate. If I come out of the womb, my mother and father will be so nice to me, and they'll say, goo goo gaga. I'll get in Maya. So by his own mystic potency, he decided to remain within the womb. So after about 12 years, Vyasadeva got perturbed what to do. I'm writing all these books, my wife's been pregnant for so that's 12 years. So he wondered what to do. So he thought, let's call Krishna. If you have any problems, call Krishna. So then Krishna spoke to Vyasa's mother, to the child within the womb of Vyasa, and said, do you think you could come out of that? She said, no, too much Maya out there. See, and they didn't even have TV in those days. That's what you call a staunch brahmachari. They really wanted to avoid Maya. So Krishna said, well, if I give a blessing that I promise that you won't get in Maya, will you come out? So Shukadeva said, okay. So he came out. But still he wasn't very impressed. And when I came out, and it's just what I thought. It's all this family business. So not in Maya, but what's the use of hanging around here? So he was already fully developed and grown up. So he started leaving home. So Vyasadeva wanted to bring him back. Because he thought, as a father, it's my duty. I have to give him the Upanayanam samskar. I have to see that he's initiated as a Brahmana. He has to study the Vedas. So how am I going to bring him back? He's already a self-realized soul. He's not even interested in the Vedic social duties. So what do you do to attract a self-realized soul? You have to tell him something about Krishna. That's later on. Suta Goswami was asked by the sages of Naimisharanya, why Shukadeva, he was already self-realized, so why did he undertake the trouble to study such a vast literature of Srimad Bhagavatam? He was already self-realized in 18,000 verses, why should he bother reading it? So what's the answer? The answer is one of the most important statements of the Bhagavad. Atma Ramascha Munayo. You can say what the answer is one of the most important statements in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Atma Ramascha Munayo Niganta Apyurukrame Kurvanti Haitakim Haititam Kunati. Even the self-realized souls, even those who are satisfied within themselves, they become attracted by the qualities of Lord Hari. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami was attracted to study Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vyasadeva, he had been compiling Srimad Bhagavatam, and he knew that it was pure nectar. It's nectar even for the self-realized souls. So to attract Shukadeva Goswami to come back home, Vyasadeva had some of his disciples recite Srimad Bhagavatam on the road, on the path where Shukadeva was passing. So as Shukadeva was going on the road through the forest, he heard these verses, and the verses describing the qualities of Lord Hari. As he was walking, he was listening. When he heard the fourth verse, he changed his mind. Thought, I'm satisfied in myself, but still I want to know more. What is this scripture you were reciting? And then he saw who's reciting. It's disciples of his father. So how have you learned this scripture? Obviously they learned it from their guru, from their father, Shukadeva's father. So Shukadeva understood everything. That my father wants me to come. Shukadeva wasn't interested in the formalities of social life, but he was interested in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore he went back to his home and heard Srimad Bhagavatam from his father. Same thing, Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur never thought of Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his father in a material way. He always saw him as a great guru and acharya. So anyway, what was the content of those verses that inspired Shukadeva to give up his determination to renounce his home? Vyasadeva had selected certain verses describing the qualities of Lord Hari. The fourth of the verses that was recited particularly attracted Shukadeva's his attention. That is a verse from the third canto of Bhagavatam, in which Vidura is glorifying the qualities of Lord Sri Krishna. He was hearing the qualities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna from Maitreya Muni. When he heard that when Krishna killed Putana, Rakshasi, Putana, that after killing her, he gave her the same position as his own mother. Now, Putana was a Rakshasa, very nasty. She took pleasure in sucking the blood of young children. She was very nasty. When you see a young child, you think, oh nice. And you want to pat them, give them some sweets.
Sheep.
Yeah, any young child. Young children are the natural object of affection. So when Putana saw young children, she also thought, how nice, fresh children. He was a Rakshasa, full of all demoniac qualities. She performed so many simple activities, killing so many children. Actually, in her previous life, she was the sister of Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj, he was born in a family of demons. He was personally not a demon, but everyone else in his family, except his grandfather Prahlad, they were all demons. They were all descendants of Hiranyakashi. So Bali Maharaj had a lot of association with Prahlad, so he was a great devotee. But all the other members of the family, they were just normal demons. Nasty, mean, demoniac. So Bali Maharaj's sister, her name was Ratnamala. So when Vamandev first came into the sacrificial arena of Vamandev, everyone appreciated, what a beautiful young woman. So even Bali Maharaj's sister, oh, what a nice young woman. I would like to have a beautiful young child like that. Who is his fortunate mother? I would like to have a child like that and feed the milk from my breasts. Motherly feelings were evoked. See, even among the demoniac people, they give pain and trouble to each other and to others, but even their own children, they have loving feelings towards. So she was thinking like that. But later when Vamandev showed his true colors and cheated Bali Maharaj and took away all the opulence of the demons, then Ratnamala thought, I'd like to kill her. That's what she thought. So in the next life she got the chance to try to kill Krishna. No one can kill Krishna. And bringing her demoniac nature, she killed so many children. But when Krishna sucked out her life air, he removed, by doing that, he nullified all her offenses. And he remembered that in a previous life, she also wanted to treat me just like my mother. So alright, now you be my mother. Your offenses are all vanquished, now you get the same position as my mother. You may think, well, how could she become his mother? He only had one mother. And even if you think there are so many incarnations, but they only have one mother each. Although Krishna had Devaki as one mother and Yashoda as another, but that's only two. So how can you become situated in this ras of treating the Lord as your child? That's all your ras. So you see, there were unlimited cows and unlimited cowherd families in Vrindavan. So when Brahma stole all the cows and calves, then Krishna expanded himself as all the cowherd boys and calves. When Brahma stole all the cowherd boys and calves, because all the cowherd men and women who are the same age as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they all desired, actually we would like Krishna as our son also. In Vrindavan, all the cowherd men and women, they all loved Krishna even more than their own children. So when Krishna came and stole their butter, actually they pretended to be, and actually they were very pleased. But they were thinking, actually we'd like to have Krishna in our home and regularly feed him and bathe him and clothe him. So when Krishna expanded himself in the form of all the cowherd boys, all the gopis and gopas, they got that opportunity. And all the cows also got that opportunity, because they had Krishna as their cows. So Krishna is very merciful to his devotees. And he's even merciful to someone who has a tiny inclination to serve him. So Vidura was astonished to see the mercy of Krishna, that this Rakshasi, she deserved to be thrown in hell forever by the Christians. Yeah. According to the Christian theology, God is so kind and merciful and loving that if you make the mistake in one lifetime and don't believe in Jesus and eat beef like a good Christian, then you go to hell forever. But here we have the real understanding that if there is a little inclination to serve him, he will overlook so many offenses and give you that opportunity. So this is the most attractive quality of our Krishna. How merciful he is, how kind he is, how much anxious he is to take us back to him. He is far more anxious to take us back to Godhead than we are to go. See, we're chanting Hare Krishna. Sometimes we think of Krishna. Most of the time we think of Maya. But Krishna is always thinking of us. He doesn't stop thinking of us. He gives us the intelligence village, if we're sincere. Krishna is trying to wake us up. He comes personally and speaks Bhagavad-gita. Yeah, he doesn't personally need to come to this world. Even one of his devotees can deliver millions of universes. Still he's so kind, he comes and speaks Bhagavad-gita. He comes in so many incarnations to deliver us. Even in this most sinful Kali Yuga, he comes and says, alright, you can't do yoga, never mind. You're not interested in yagyas, alright, even though my name, Krishna, his name is Yajna-Prit, he's very fond of yagyas. Alright, never mind. You can't follow all the Vedic rules and regulations, never mind. Just perform this yajna, Sankirtan. Just chant Hare Krishna. Can't do anything else. Completely useless in all respects. Just open your mouth and say Hare Krishna. If you can't do that, still leave your mouth open and we'll put some prasad in. He's so merciful. He's trying in all ways to deliver us. And we are saying, no. Krishna is trying to wake us up. Sometimes we make a little effort. Okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's enough for now. Okay, I chanted Hare Krishna enough for today. Now for Maya. Now let me enjoy life. We're such fools and rascals. Maybe that's why the Christians have the idea God sends us to hell forever. Practically we deserve it. But Krishna is so merciful. If he sees little inclination to serve, he accepts it. But we shouldn't take that mercy very cheaply. We shouldn't think, well, I can smoke cigarettes and then I can chant Hare Krishna. Krishna is very merciful. Let me enjoy life now, and when I'm 97 years old, I'll chant Hare Krishna. Krishna is very merciful. Don't try to cheat Krishna. Krishna is very merciful. He's not a fool. We think we can cheat. Krishna says here, Priti Purvakam, those who worship me with love, to them I extend my mercy. So we have to have some love for Krishna. We have so much love for Maya. So somewhere in our hearts we have to push Maya away and call out for Krishna. Krishna is prepared to be merciful. We have to show some sincerity. Then Krishna will extend his overwhelming mercy to us. So let us do our part. Be very sincere devotees of Krishna. Pray for his mercy. How do we pray for his mercy? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In Russia, there was famous at one time. There was someone who used to go here and there just praying. What is that? Jesus have mercy. You know about that? It's famous outside Russia. It's supposed to be famous in Russia.
In the prayer?
Yeah.
Christian prayer?
Yeah.
Well, in Russian, it is literally sounds like this. Oh Lord, be merciful. Oh Lord, be merciful. Lord, be merciful.
They say it's like a mantra. In Russian,
Orthodox.
Kyrie eleison. In Latin, Lord have mercy. And in Sanskrit, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions?
How devotee exactly overcomes Maya? Is it that Krishna gives him power, or is it that he orders Maya not to overcome?
Yeah, when we're sincere, then Krishna helps us. We're totally dependent on Krishna's mercy, but at the same time we have to take that mercy. It's just like if we've fallen in a deep well, how can we come out? It's only possible if someone gives the mercy by sending down a long, strong rope. But then we have to take that rope and continue holding onto it while they pull us up. So if we're halfway up and then we think, oh, it's very tiring holding onto this rope. Why should I have to hold onto this stupid rope? Why don't they say, hey, you up there, you should find some better method of pulling me up. Why should I hold onto this rope? To hell with this rope. Okay, let it go. So we have to keep on holding on to Krishna.
What does it mean to serve the devotees, and which devotees should I serve?
What does it mean to serve the devotees? Well, there's all kinds of things, just like distributing prasadam to the devotees, cooperating with all the devotees in all the different services, food distribution, organizing festivals. Serve all the devotees. If we're serving prasadam, we don't say, hey, you're not very advanced, I'm not going to serve you. Serve all the devotees.
Is it my fault that I can see faults in others, or is it the real situation that these faults in others do exist?
They may exist. Everyone in this material world has some faults. But it's our fault if we dwell on their faults. Rather, we should try to see the good qualities in Vaishnavas. It's understood that everyone in this material world has faults. If they're chanting Hare Krishna, then, that's far more important than millions of faults. From what might be called a practical point of view, we may be aware of different people's idiosyncrasies.
Misunderstandings.
We may be aware of different idiosyncrasies. You know what it means? Idiosyncrasy means personal characteristics. Often it means not very desirable personal characteristics. Yeah, from a practical point of view, if for instance we know that someone has a tendency to be irritable, even though they're a devotee, then we may behave with them in such a way that they are less likely to become irritable. So that is practical. But at the same time, it's we should see, is it our service to find all the faults of everybody else? What does fault mean? Fault means some improper behavior, improper attitude. That is produced from lower consciousness or undeveloped consciousness, or lack of developed Krishna consciousness. So really, if we're to help others to come to a higher standard, we ourselves have to be on a higher platform of consciousness. Then we can help others to come to a higher level of consciousness by which those faults will be overcome. Otherwise, if we simply see others' faults, then that may be a manifestation of our own lower consciousness. Unless we're on a higher level of consciousness, we don't have the means to help others come up. It's really why the most important thing for us is to raise our own consciousness. And if we do that, then automatically others around us will come up to a higher level of consciousness. If we're blissful, enthusiastic, always ready to serve, happy to chant the holy name, then others will also pick up on that. There's a saying in English, example is better than precept. You say that in Russian? Better than just telling someone, hey, you're in Maya, is ourselves to not be in Maya. Then the happiness that comes from being Krishna conscious will inspire others also to be Krishna. Even if faults are there, that's understood. We shouldn't dwell on the faults of others. That is not Krishna consciousness. Do you know that story of the Brahmana and the prostitute? That's in one of the small books, isn't it? Which book is that in? Can you remember which book that's in? No. Now what the story is, there was a Brahmana living close to a prostitute. And the Brahmana very properly followed all the religious principles, and he used to berate the prostitute.
Berate means?
Chastise, criticize. You're such a rascal. She used to think, it's true, I'm such a rascal. Somehow or other I got in this position. I don't know how. I don't know how I came to be like this. I'm very sorry. Now that Brahmana, he's worshipping Vishnu, he's such a pious soul. I wish that I could worship Vishnu. So she was thinking like that. Brahmana was keeping a watch on her home. And every time she got a customer, he'd throw a rock. So gradually a pile of rocks built up. And every time he saw her, he would look at the pile of rocks and look at her. So what happened when the Brahmana died? Where did he go? He got born in the womb of a prostitute. He was always thinking of Krishna. And the prostitute was always thinking that Brahmana is such a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, I wish I could serve Vishnu. So in the next life she got the chance to serve Lord Vishnu. So we're not recommending that you take up simple activities. But the point is that we should not make a profession of all. It's not healthy for Krishna consciousness. When someone is always criticizing others, he's no good, and this and that, and you can hear about that, this, and this guy's not good, and it's good, just like vomiting. Better glorify Krishna.
What is sincerity? What is it to be sincere?
Sincerity means the desire to serve Krishna without any personal motive. Some quote from my brahmachari book.
No.
Because sometimes people tell me, I read in your brahmachari book in Russia. I say, well, I didn't write that.
She asks whether a child can wear saffron totally living at home, a small child.
Small child? Well, it's like a kind of definition. Real brahmacharya means to live in the Gurukul, to live in the ashram of the Guru. You can do it if you like.
If a devotee is very inimical to materialistic people, how can we help him to get rid of his attitude? Inimical, criticizing.
Well, improvement comes by preaching. That's one kind of envy, actually. Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad-gita about the devotee who is very dear to him in chapter 12, that Adveshta Sarava Bhutanam Maitra Karanam Evacha. Nirmamo Nirahankara. The first two lines describe the attitude of the devotee towards Sarva Bhutana, all people, all living beings, not only beings. That he is Advaishta, he is not inimical towards any living being. He's a friend to all and merciful to all. So, in our preaching, yes, we use strong terms. Prabhupada used strong terms. Prabhupada used very strong terms to describe non-devotees, those who are against the sense of Krishna consciousness. Words like rascals, fools, nonsense, animals, cats, dogs. These are all words that Prabhupada regularly used. But we see that in his personal dealings, Prabhupada is very considerate. And sometimes Prabhupada would be very strong, even with non-devotees, just to bring them to a higher point of consciousness.
Even with devotees?
With devotees, with non-devotees also. Can't imagine how strong Prabhupada was. Many times when his own disciples, they were just absolutely shaken by it. Once Prabhupada came to a place, they cleaned up after taking prasad, and all the prasad was dried up and stuck to the floor. Prabhupada was so angry. Training you as brahmanas, but just wretches. Went on and on. So one devotee got out his penknife and started scraping up on the floor. Prabhupada looked at him disgustedly and said, "Why don't you use it to cut your throat?" There's another time one devotee, girl devotee, she was always touching everything with her feet. And Prabhupada was always chastising her, "Don't touch things with your feet." So one time she said, "Prabhupada, I might as well just cut my feet off." Yes. Prabhupada was extremely heavy. One time one devotee said to Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen." Prabhupada looked at him and said, "You're not the most anything. You're simply insignificant." So Prabhupada was very strong. At the same time, he was very loving and kind. He was strong, but he wasn't sentimental. And he knew how to lift people up. He pointed out that material life is no better than animal life. He pointed out that, human life without Krishna consciousness is just animal life.
Yeah, because we said that human life is like animal life.
But at the same time, he was able to lift others up out of it. So, if someone's not able to lift others up, then he should maybe be a little cautious in his condemnation. In the Science of Self-Realization, there's one section, there's a letter from one lady called Lynn Ludwig, in which she writes to Prabhupada, and she says that I met some of your followers, and they're very negative towards materialistic people, and don't you think you should teach them? She was respectful, but she said, I think it'd be more befitting if they were more loving. So Prabhupada gave quite a lengthy and very nice reply. And said, yes, it's very nice to talk about love. The actual fact is that I can't remember exactly the language Prabhupada used. He said the actual fact is that this material world is miserable. There is nothing good about it. So Prabhupada said that especially those who are new in Krishna consciousness, they're trying to protect themselves from Maya, so it's not surprising if they're apparently imbalanced in that way, in apparent negativity. But at the same time, he wrote to her that they have dedicated their lives to Krishna. So that is glorious. Prabhupada is hinting that you're not really in a position to criticize them. Some strong dislike of material life can be quite helpful. That may, in the course of time, the devotee may become more mature and see everything in perspective and see how to deal with different people. And as his Krishna consciousness develops, that seeing every person as more and more as part and parcel of Krishna, someone to be preached to, we should caution devotees not to. It's very easy to disturb people and turn them away from Krishna consciousness. So it's a great art to preach strongly, but in a way that others will be lifted up. Generally, newer devotees are not very expert in that. Newer devotees are not very expert in anything, but at the same time, it's good to maintain some discrimination that actually materialistic life is nonsense. If we think that, it's all very nice and everything's nice and everything's good, that's nonsense. The actual fact is that materialistic people are all nonsense. That doesn't mean that we should hate them, nor should we think that we ourselves are very advanced devotees. Rather, we should think that by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, I've got the chance to understand that this is all nonsense and become purified. And I've got the chance to try to give that opportunity to others also. If anyone has to go, make sure they get some prasad. Do you have prasad for them?
Did you distribute books? For how long? When?
I'm still distributing books. Right, Yagipriya? I'm planning to distribute some books today to you, all of you. Don't run away.
Can you dwell on how you distribute the books? Can you tell some stories?
I'll show you a story. In fact, we can do it right now. Why not? Shivasta Shigram. Anything auspicious should be done immediately. Okay, bring me the books. Yeah, okay, but where's the books?
Material life is nonsense, but if everyone understands it at once, so does it mean that there'll be no material world anymore?
Yes. And we can all chant Hare Krishna and go back to Radha. No more need for factories. Only dancing and singing with Krishna. I saw here in Lipetsk some big factories are closed down, huh? So people must be very sad. We have something, if you're not working in the factory, then you have time to read Prabhupada's books. Now this book, you see. Is perfect questions or life comes from you?
Perfect questions.
This one is serious. Srimad. Yeah. This is the Hare Krishna. This is the first book that I read.
Which one?
Krishna book. I was absolutely bewildered, absolutely in Maya. I'm doing a little better now, I hope, by Prabhupada's mercy. This book saved my life. Does everyone have this book in their home? Krishna Lila, Krishna book? Do you have this? This is a special mercy for the Russian people. That Krishna has arranged that you have a very long, cold, dark winter. So you can sit at home with these books and read them and be in ecstasy. All you need is love. Krishna. So we would like to request everyone to make your home Krishna conscious, fully. Fill up your shelves with Prabhupada's books. By reading these books, you become Krishna conscious. And when you become Krishna conscious, then you become happy by understanding Krishna. What could be better than that? Therefore, Prabhupada said, he requested all his disciples, please distribute my book, by which people can get knowledge of Krishna. And if you distribute these books, you also become happy, because Prabhupada becomes happy, and Krishna becomes happy. And when I distribute these books, I also become happy. So I'm going to ask everyone here to do something to make me happy. So I've come to your town, so you please do something to make me happy. And you'll also become happy. All you have to do is empty the money out of your pockets and fill them with Prabhupada's book. The money comes and money goes, but the book stays in your house. That is your eternal benefit. How much is this book? How much do you sell for 40 rubles. See, now 40 rubles people spend and it's gone. What do people buy? They buy vegetables, clothes, soap, different things. Maybe some video. If you buy this book about Krishna, you can read it again and again. I've read this book many times. I don't even know how many times I've read it. I didn't keep account. Every time I read it, it's like nectar. More and more nectar. So anyway, let's get practical. We have so many nice books here. Nectar. Nectar of devotion. Prabhupada. Story of Prabhupada. You like stories? Here you have the most extraordinary story of the 20th century. How an old man from India changed the religious history of the world. Single-handed. Because the culture of the Western countries is meat eating, gambling, illicit sex and intoxication. So how Prabhupada brought hope into the life of millions of people is described in it. So we have many books we want everyone to take. This is 40 rubles. This is only how many rubles?
30.
This is only 30 rubles. This is Bhagavad-gita. If you don't have Bhagavad-gita, you must take this book. How much is this? 40. And if you do have it, you should also take it. And give it to your friend. If you really want to be a friend of someone, give them Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita. This is Prabhupada's book. How much is this? 30. And
Perfect questions they want to buy.
how much is this one? 6 rubles. I'll sign it also. Okay. It's not going to go on your score.